I wanted to start this vlog because Minnesota is currently in the midst of a historic snowstorm, so I guess that's what's happening. We've been told not to travel a little bit just because of there's like historic levels of like how much snow is being dumped on us. I'm currently located in the Twin Cities. So yeah, we're stuck in a snowstorm. I feel like the vibes are to stay in and just read. I do want to go outside a little bit because I love snow. It is my favorite form of precipitation. I know that's weird, but I feel like everyone has like a preferred form of precipitation. Like I do not enjoy when it rains. I hate rain, and but a lot of people love reading when it's raining, you know what I mean? But I feel like my version of that is like snow, like blizzard. So yeah, we're gonna read some books together, and I'm gonna vlog this experience because I feel like I'm reading some cool things, and it's kind of just a way for me to like not be bored. Okay, so I will show you what I'm reading right now. I know I am literally a broken record when I talk about this, but this year one of my goals is to cut down on the amount of physical books that I obtain and focus on reading, and focus on reading more ebooks and audiobooks and just more texts like online, just because physical books and a lot of clutter can make me anxious. So again, I realized I was just unhauling so many books month after month, and it wasn't really the healthiest for me because I was always so conscious of the amount of books that I was like, you know, buying and obtaining. So I've been obsessed with reading on my iPad. I also have a Kindle Paperwhite, but it's always out of battery and I don't want to charge it. I know that's like that's literally such a me problem, and it's like I would be reading off my Kindle Paperwhite more, but it just runs out of battery so quickly and I'm so annoyed. So I read on my iPad. Anyway, I have the Kindle app, but I am currently reading Highly Suspicious and Unfairly Cute by Talia Hibbert. I have just started it, so I'm not really that much into it, but this is actually our February book pick for Heartbound Book Club, which is a book club I started with my partner. He's already finished it and he loved it, so I have pretty high expectations because he's very picky, especially about romance. So I'm super excited for this one, and thinking about the books that I'm actually reading in this next few days, I actually have a lot of romance. I know, it's like not really like me. I'm a mood reader, so I am not really craving romance all the time just because, like, again, with like seasons and holidays and whatever, but I've been on a romance kick. So like after this I have a spicy TikTok fantasy book that I really want to get to, and yeah, it's gonna be a fun time. So we're just gonna spend the next few days together because again, I am inside like basically all weekend because of the snow, and just like travel conditions are not great and I don't want to be driving. So I will be reading a lot, and I really hope to kind of read a lot, especially because it's February. It's like the end of February, but I really was planning to read more books this year. In February, just because I want to be able to do like a wrap up and talk about the books, because I feel like every month now I'm just reading like 1 or 2 books, and that's fine because I am pretty busy, but it's also like I don't want to do like a wrap up video with like 1 book that I read this month, you know what I mean? So yeah, I'm just trying to smash my Goodreads goal this year and smashing the amount of books I read per month. So yeah, that's the plan for this vlog. I hope you're excited to experience my first blizzard in Minnesota, because I usually go home for the holidays, so that's usually when a lot of snow hits. So I hope you're excited to experience reading with me while it is snowing outside. And yeah, that's the plan I have for today. I'm gonna pretty much read. I pretty much finished work for today. It's about 2 p.m. So I'm gonna take a break and read, and then I'm going to do some other tasks, do some other things on my to-do list. But I also have reading sprints today with Jessie from Jessie on YouTube for the Blackathon Readathon, which I'm really excited for. I'm kind of nervous because every time I do reading sprints, I don't know, I feel like I'm self-conscious about the way I look when I'm reading. So I'm excited for it, but I'm also like, but I'm excited to read with people. So yeah, I will update you when I have read a little bit. my god, my face is so red from laughing so much. So I just finished reading sprints for Jessie's readathon, blackathon. If you don't know them, I will leave all the links to their channel and everything, and I just appreciate them so much as a friend and look up to them as a creator, and it was just so much fun. I highly recommend you watch it. If you need some like motivation in reading sprints are great to like do with other creators, or even if you're just rewatching them, like you can still get something out of it. But I just loved all of our conversations, so definitely check that out. I'll leave the link to our recorded live stream in the description box. But anyways, I would say it was a really successful sprint. We did 2 sprints and I think it was about an hour and 10 minutes total, and I'm on page 100 of Highly Sus and Unfairly Cute. And I will say it was a little tough to get into. I already knew that going in though, because it was young adult romance, and for me it's very out of my element, and it was kind of like a jump scare because again, like I don't read a lot of young adult romance. If it is romance, it's gonna be adult romance or like new adult, you know what I mean? And young adult romance just has a very different vibe to it, a very different like writing style, and it's obviously towards a younger audience because I think the characters in our book are like 17, and I'm like, whoa. But yeah, anyway, besides the writing style though, we're finally getting into the like storyline a little bit, so I'm really enjoying it. And can we just talk about the mental health rep and the queer representation as well? One of our main characters, Brad, yeah, well, with a name like that, I don't know how I'm gonna remember that, but one of our main characters, Brad, is bisexual, and he also has OCD, and it's just beautiful. I love romance books that are like multi-layered and multifaceted and have that extra element of like, you know, diverse representation, because I feel like a lot of romance that I used to read, obviously when I was like first getting into the genre, was just very like straight and not, you know, diverse at all, and it was kind of just like, oh, is this like, it kind of had a weird perception on like love and like just anything that, what am I saying, chaos. Anyway, so I'm really enjoying that this book kind of really talks about that and how that representation has, you know, impacted the relationship between our 2 characters. But just there are so many things that are happening. Like they're in the woods right now, and I'm like, did I miss something? I guess I didn't read the synopsis, but like I did not know this book took place like semi in the woods. Like they're fully in the wilderness, like doing some type of like wilderness activity because they're like doing this competition thing. And anyway, I just didn't get the memo. So but yeah, that's probably all I'm going to read for today, and I'm honestly gonna finish the book tomorrow because I just feel like it's the end of February. I need to get on my shit and finish some of the books on my TBR for this month. So I will update you when I have finished the book tomorrow, but I'm really enjoying it. Again, we're reading it for our book club for the month of February, and my partner really loved it. Like he had a glowing review about it, and he was so excited for me to read it, so I'm excited to read it and have that conversation. So I will catch in with you soon. So I'm about 200 pages in now, and I feel like the story is finally getting to like what I wanted out of this book. Again, I, you know, had some low expectations. I will say that. Nothing have to do with like the author or like the story, because I didn't know what the story was about. Just plain and simple, just because I aged out of young adult romance. So I didn't really think I would like this book, but I think this really takes YA romance to another level of like complexity and nuance. In this relationship, we have 2 characters who have very different relationships with their parents. We have our main character, Celine, who, you know, her dad left the family when they were very young, and so she has a single mother and she has a sister, and where we have another main character who is kind of on the opposite side of that, has a very supportive mother and father figure in his life. And it's really interesting, the conversations that it's having and how it's affecting the relationship as friends. And not only is this a great book about family relationships, like this book literally has quite literally everything. Not only does it have familiar relationships, but it also has sibling relationships and friendships. You know, I love love books that, you know, we're not just looking at this perfect friendship. We're looking at this very fractured friendship, a very tenuous relationship between friends, because again, the main characters, they were like best friends and they had a falling out that was due to miscommunication, and they had to find their way back to each other. So again, complicated friendships are something that I'm very much a fan of in romance, because I think that's like, I feel like romance sometimes can blur the line, especially YA romance, between like over romanticization of things. So I do appreciate when a YA romance has the nuance that I'm kind of looking for, especially with such a young demographic. Like, you got to be showing these kids, what am I saying? These teens that, you know, relationships are complex. It's not just all about like, you know, the lovey-dovey, heartfelt shit that we like see in the movies or whatever. Being a teenager and navigating all of that is romance and relationships is so difficult. So yeah, it got me, this book just made me a little existential, just a little bit. But I appreciate that when a book makes me think beyond my own life. So I did a little bit of journaling. This is my journal here. And I did a little bit of journaling because I just wanted to think about all of the relationships in my life and the relationship with like my parents, and you know, how that has impacted my relationship with friends. Again, I'm sorry if I'm getting just very existential and philosophical, but I feel like it really meets a different like factor and rating for me when I read a book that, you know, allows me to bring life lessons and own things into my own life and think about things beyond just like the story, because again, stories are, you know, fictional mostly, so it's really interesting when they have like real repercussions in real life. So thought that was interesting. The next time you hear from me, I'm gonna be done with this book, and then I'm going to get into something not that complex, which is this spicy TikTok fantasy. It's the sequel, so I say that not to like throw shade on it, it's just because the first book was kind of just like very underwhelming in terms of like how much nuance there was. Like there was basically like no plot or anything complex. It was just about this like spicy TikTok romance. So again, I am blown away a little bit. This is my first Talia Hibbert book, so I know that going into it, like I definitely want to explore more of this author's writing because of the nuance and complex topics that are being discussed. I heard that's what is very popular in Talia Hibbert's books. So yeah, just a little thing. It is Friday. What a great time to be existential on a Friday afternoon. But I will see you when I have finished the book. I just finished. Oh my god. That actually took a longer time for me to read than I actually thought I was. It's a 300-page book. I was like, I'm gonna fly through this in one sitting, but it actually took me 3 sittings, and I definitely think it was the writing style. I didn't love the writing style, I'm not gonna lie. I thought it was very interesting because it's set in the UK, and there's a lot of like UK banter, and I do feel it was very clunky and kind of hard for me to read, or at least get used to. I think like the first 100 pages were very hard for me to get through, but then after that I kind of got used to it. But yes, okay, I'm gonna share my final thoughts on Highly Suspicious, and then we're gonna move on to the next book. Overall, this was an amazing, fantastic book. I think that for the YA romance genre, it adds so much nuance and complexity to, you know, something beyond romance, like exploring romance when two people who like are very different and come from very different experiences, and how that kind of plays out. You know, as I mentioned, the characters skew a little bit young for me. I aged out of YA romance like a few years ago, honestly. So the characters are a bit young for me to, it's hard for me to relate, you know? But I think in this case, with the mental health representation, it made it so much easier to relate to them, and it made me really think about how, you know, mental health affects relationships, and how you see other people, and how you interact with people, and how people perceive you. So I thought that was just really beautiful, and something that added so much to the story. Like, I don't think I would have enjoyed this story had it just been like a clean-cut romance with like no mental health rep, no like family dynamic like discussions and all of that. Another thing that really added to it was, so we have 2 main characters, and it switches in POV. We have Celine and then we have Brad, and Celine is very much like me, like self-saboteur. And I just related to her so much, and it made it so much easier to like get in the head of the character. Brad, I didn't relate to as much, but I definitely, you know, could see it. It's very interesting because I feel like I'm Celine and Brad very much reflects my partner, so seeing that like relationship play out on page was like, oh, this is too real, this is too real. But yeah, our main character Brad deals with OCD, and through the book and even in the beginning, we're already kind of aware of this diagnosis, and he's very much aware. He's lived with it for a few years, he has a therapist, and it's really nice to see that. And in contrast, Celine, our other main character, she is not getting the help she needs, but she knows that there's something wrong. She has like some type of anxiety, some type of like, you know, mental illness, but she doesn't completely know. And I love the discussions that they have, you know, how she's aware of his what he's dealing with and how she helps him, but also how he helps her kind of, you know, realize this and come to the conclusion that, okay, she might need to see someone like professionally. And I love that discussion. I really do think it's something that is so lacking in not even just young adult romance, but like the young adult genre in general. And I think I just can't imagine, like, I wish I would have had this type of book when I was 17 or 18, like just in high school, and reading this type of book about two characters who like loved each other despite their differences and despite their mental health. So yeah, just like a really sweet book, just so cute. The chemistry between the two characters are literally amazing. Honestly, this is some better chemistry than I've read in some adult romance, which is like, that says something. That's some shade right there. And again, like, this is my first book from Talia Hibbert. I definitely will be looking forward to, do they write adult romance? I will check back on that, but I think I will be reading more from this author because I really just enjoy the discussions. It's diverse romance, which I really love, like romance that includes characters with different backgrounds and identities. So anyways, I enjoyed it. 10 out of 10. Don't write my books anymore, but yes, it would be a 5-star for me in my eyes. But yeah, that is my final thoughts on Highly Suspicious and Unfairly Cute by Talia Hibbert. Next up, we will be going into Wicked Villains by Marion Blackwood. This is a spicy TikTok fantasy romance. I don't know any other way to explain it. This is the second book though. The first book is called Ruthless Villains, but if you're like me and you read a lot of adult romance, but it just doesn't have that spice factor, you know what I mean? Like, it's just not that spicy. And so I saw this one on TikTok and I read it and I'm like, so this is what spice is. There's the spice. Now we're getting some actual like spice in my romance. And I do quite like fantasy romance because it's really interesting to see how characters like literally deal with an entire romance on top of this entire fantasy magic system, like plot that's going on, this very convoluted plot, and they're just like navigating their love life and like making out and like doing things, and it's just like, damn, you have so much time on your hands. The world is at stake, but you're okay, you do you, finding some time to get it in there. So anyways, as you can tell, I'm very excited and very pumped because I do quite like some, I think it's time for some like to kick back and relax and read some spice. So we'll keep you updated on that, but definitely read the first book if you haven't already. Gonna do a late night check-in before I log off for the night and call it a day because I did some reading today. I'm about halfway through the book right now and I'm going through it pretty quickly. Like, I honestly could have finished it today, but guys, I'm annoyed. I'm a little annoyed right now. Okay, so like I said, this is the sequel. Wicked Villains is a sequel to Ruthless Villains, which is an enemies to lovers like fantasy romance, and I feel like the first book was very much like establishing that these two people hate each other, and I get it, and like and everything, and I feel like that's not enough of like a lead on anymore to bring into the second book, because like especially if the first book is just all about them hating each other and why they hate each other, like I feel like the second book has to develop into something more, because I'm at a point where I'm kind of like over the point where they just hate each other, and that's like the essential crucial part of the book, and I want a little bit more from the author. I want a little bit more substance. I want a little bit more feelings, I guess, or maybe just some type of like indication that they're growing and developing as characters beyond just their hatred for each other. And I feel like she, as a female character, like our heroine, I just don't know, like I just feel like she is being like robbed of any type of like development or like female empowerment, or just like, you know, being an independent strong woman, and she's like at the mercy of this guy. And I feel like it's just written in a weird way. It's almost as if like the male gaze, I don't know, it's a little weird right now, and I'm just kind of like breathing. I'm like, it's fine, Alex, it's fine. You don't know what the ending's gonna be like. There might be some epiphany. They might end up loving each other, but I don't think so, because the series is like 4 books long, so I'm pretty sure their hatred continues. The saga continues after this one, so I'm a little bummed right now, but the romance is good. It is giving, it is serving, it is very steamy and very spicy. So next time I update you, I will be done with it, and I'm very curious what future Alex is going to say about this book, because at this moment in time, it's not like my favorite read right now. All right, we gotta talk about Wicked Villains, or is it Ruthless Villains? I keep getting confused. Anyway, I just finished the Villains book, whichever one that was, and what a freaking roller coaster. To be honest, I don't really know what I was expecting from this one. I really enjoyed the first one. I actually thought it was a pretty interesting plot. I know a lot of the reviews said like the writing was really bad, or that like the magic didn't really make any sense, but I thought it was still pretty interesting for a book that was like solely based on smut. I feel like 50%, 70% of the books were smut, so I feel like going into this one I was like, okay, all right, what are we getting ourselves into? But I will say the book just kind of dragged so much. Like I can kind of see where it's going now. I felt like in the first book it was all like new and shiny, so I really didn't like look too much at the writing style, but definitely in book 2 it makes it more apparent that the writing style is very repetitive. Like I swear, like his only compliment to this girl is, damn, you're so gorgeous. Like, I don't know, man, get more creative. I don't know if it's just me. And I saw a lot of reviews on this one as well that people thought it was too long. So I know that like I definitely thought it was too long. I just felt like this book, the plot was like all over the place. It was like here, and then something happened, and then something happened here, and then there's like betrayal after betrayal after betrayal. It's just so confusing and convoluted, and I'm just like, oh my god. We had like a little bit of moments where they were both starting to get a little bit emotional and starting to dig into their deeper feelings, because like this is the second book and they still have not done that. And I mean, it has to happen in book 3, because there's a book 3 and book 4, and I'm like, I don't know if I'm invested anymore in these characters' relationships enough to read 2 more entire books about it. I mean, granted, these books are like 300 in length, so it's not that long and you can finish it, but I will tell you one thing. The smut is off the charts. This is definitely like the steamiest book I've ever read. TikTok did not do me wrong. I remember reading some snippets on TikTok, which is actually how I like found out about it and why I downloaded it, to kind of see what the hype was about. But it definitely did live up to the hype. Like it lived up to every single thing. And I felt like 60% of the book, or even more so, was like smut or like longing for each other. So yeah, if you enjoy that, I definitely think you'll enjoy this book. Also, I would have liked to see more character development from, what's her name? I forgot her freaking name. I would have liked to see more character development from our main female villain. There's 2 main characters. There's Callan? Is that his name? I don't freaking know. Whatever her name is. No, it's killing me. I gotta look at her name. Hold on, give me a second. Ah, yes, Audrey. Okay, I would have liked to see a little bit more character development from Audrey because, I don't know, her role in the story seemed to be, it was such like a letdown for me. I feel like she was just in this story to kind of like give him an arc or something like that. I don't know, that's just my opinion. I feel like he definitely had a little bit of a character development, at least more than she did, with, you know, realizing his emotions and sorting through that, and I think he got a lot more airtime. But I was just like, what about my girl Audrey? Like, what is Audrey doing? What is going on in the noggin? And, you know, how is she developing as a villain other than just wanting to kill him all the time? She didn't really develop, so I don't know, maybe I'm pretty invested in reading the third book only to see her develop, because I feel like this book did her dirty. This book did her hella dirty. She was just, this poor girl, she really was just used for this man's plot development, character development, and literally, I had enough of him. I don't want to read more of him. Overall, I really enjoyed it. I think the book 2 is definitely not as good as book 1, so just go into the expectations with that. I will not be continuing on with the series because I just at this point, I feel like I'm done with the smut. I got my fill. It's just too much sometimes where I'm kind of like, I might have to take a month in between reading both books. Maybe, we'll see. I will revisit that in a different video. But I think I'm gonna end the vlog there. I really enjoyed reading these 2 romance books. It's been a while since I've been in romance this, you know, far into it, and reading 2 books back to back that were very, very romancy, lovey-dovey. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you pick up some of these books. If not Wicked Villains, maybe just the first one. I feel like that's more worth your time. Let me know what romance books you recommend for me to read next. I feel like I am a little more well-versed in romance now so that I can read some other books, and I know that a lot of people on BookTube love romance, so if you have any recommendations, let me know in the comments. But yeah, thank you so much for joining me, and I will see you on my next video. Bye!